have entered the final phase at this European Council to give Britain the green light to move forward to the next phase of the Brexit talks. Mrs May's not here. She flew home last night after being given a round of applause by EU leaders when she had urged them to agree to a quick transition period and to give their formal approval to progress made so far. Well, we can speak now to the former leader of UKIP, Nigel Farage, still, of course, a member of the European Parliament, and he joins me now from Westminster. Mr Farage, first of all, the government's saying it has no plans to drop this idea of writing the date of Brexit on the front of the withdrawal legislation. How important do you think it is that that should be there?
Very important. I mean, what we've seen over the course of 2017 is slippage at every level. A Prime Minister that now wants us to go into a transition phase, which, who knows, could last even until the next general election. And I think if the 29th of March 2019 was to be dropped as the date when we formally leave the European Union, I think that would be a sign that the political class are basically stopping Brexit from happening.
Of course, there are those who say that it's not necessary anyway, because a two-year period is triggered by Article 50, and we all know when that comes to an end, March in 2019.
Well, that's right, and that's actually why there shouldn't be a transition deal either. You know, I mean, it took 9 months to trigger Article 50, 2 years of Article 50, and now, as I say, the Prime Minister wants to extend the whole thing for at least another 2 years. So, no, look, I hope that at least we leave the European Union in name at the end of March 19, and I think the Prime Minister must stick very firmly to that.
Well, if we leave in name, we might still be in a transition phase which could have many of the same trade agreements in place. And, of course, we know that we've already committed to go on paying.
Yeah, I mean, look, transition, all that transition is a slightly worse form of membership than we currently have, which is why I'm so completely opposed to it. It also threatens, of course, to hold us back in terms of making progress with the rest of the world. It's sending out a very negative signal to America, Australia and elsewhere. But worst of all, from a Brexit point of view, you know, this transition may well go on until the next general election. And who's to say we might get a Corbyn-led coalition that then wants to keep us inside the customs union and single market in perpetuity.
But, you know, isn't the reality that the reason why this question of a transition period has come up is because your version of what you'd like to see would drive the British economy off a cliff with many dire consequences?
Yeah, I'm really sorry, but, you know, just because a few tariffs get put on some goods does not drive the British economy off a cliff. I mean, goodness me, the amount sterling goes up and down every month is more than the amount of most of those tariffs. It would give us the opportunity to take back control of fisheries, to take back control of global policy. And hey, you know, America and China trade with Europe on WTO rules, and they do it pretty successfully.
Yeah, but it would also mean, wouldn't it, a hard border either between North and South in Ireland or between East and West?
This is all completely fictional. You know, already we have a different currency in the North and the South of Ireland.
Well, America and China have got borders, I seem to remember.
You know, we have a different tax structure already that exists between the North and South. And through technology, if there was no tariff-free deal, you know, frankly, the Northern Irish problem is one the Commission have tried to put there.
Well, it's one that the British government accepts there, and so does the Dublin government. So it's, to all-out politics from Brussels, where the negotiations...
That a British Prime Minister gets up at 3:45 in the morning, flies to Brussels to meet a deadline, puts 40 billion quid on the table as part of that, and today we're told they might start talking to us about trade in March. I mean, we are not coming out of this very well, and she's behaving like the leader of a defeated country.
I mean, you yourself, of course, have been, you've already been doing this interview attacking career politicians, but you are a career politician, aren't you? You're a member of the European Parliament, man who's going to receive former party leader, go to get a pension for your work in the European Parliament. So you're just another one, aren't you?
Well, you know, career politician is about a state of mind, isn't it? Career politician is generally about playing safe, about maintaining the status quo, and about putting your own career advancement above anything else. I don't think I qualify as a career politician, given that I've done everything I can to be the turkey that voted for Christmas and to get rid of British MEPs.
But I mean, you've had more comebacks as a party leader than Frank Sinatra. I mean, doesn't that really make you someone who wants to be a politician, who wants to be a political leader?
No, not really. I'd be much happier, Adam, staying in business, living a normal life, and never having got involved in politics at all. But I did because I could see that our career political class in Westminster was so gutless that they would sell us out to Europe at every opportunity. And the sadness is that we forced that referendum. We played a big part, UKIP, in helping to win that referendum. But sadly, the day after the referendum, the very people that I'd fought against for 25 years were still in charge. And that's why we're in the mess we're in.
Now, you did focus to a certain extent on the issue of immigration during the referendum campaign. Yeah. Where do you think that question has got to now in the negotiations between the UK and the European Union?
Well, we are so busy meeting all of their demands on EU citizens' rights, and in particular issues such as family reunion, that if you allow for the transition deal as well, it is unlikely that we will have any change of control of people coming into the UK from the EU for at least 6 or 7 years after we voted to leave, and that is the best possible estimate. So at the moment, the immigration argument is going by default. It's not being discussed in British politics, not being discussed in Westminster at all. But please don't think that out there in the real country it is not still a major issue, because it is.
What do you think the consequences would be if there is a final Brexit deal, but that it doesn't result in less immigration from the European Union?
Well, if we finish up without proper control of our borders, bound to single market rules, which means we're not able to set our own rules for our own industries, if that kind of Norway-type status, which certainly Keir Starmer from Labour now appears to want, if that's where we finish up, then I think there may well be one more great big European battle to be fought.
And how would you think that battle would shape up?
Well, I think what's interesting is whilst the Remainers and the political class have gained in confidence all through this year and you know, doing their bit, defeating the government in the Commons, and all of these things, I think what's really interesting is what's happening to public opinion. And all I see is a genuine hardening, not just around Brexit, but a genuine desire not to be part of a European Union that wants to militarise and is being more open than ever about becoming a United States of Europe.
Well, with me now, the leader of the UK Independence Party and campaigner for Out, although he's not part of Vote Leave, Nigel Farage, MEP. What do you think about the Prime Minister's performance tonight?
Poor. Very poor.
Why?
I think he was surprised by the constant questioning that he got from Faisal Islam. He began to sort of lose his rag a bit. He kept using the word, "you're using glib statements." So he was in real trouble. But at the heart of it was the first question. And the first question was about immigration. And the Prime Minister was asked, how on the one hand can you have fought a general election last year, promising you would reduce net migration to tens of thousands a year, and now say that if we did that, it would wreck the economy? And I mean, frankly, I'm of a view, I just don't believe a single word this man says anymore. And increasingly, that's how the British public feel. He cannot answer this most fundamental question about reducing numbers.
Now, what is your view? We had immigration from within the European Union, about 180,000 last year, and about the same from outside. Our economy is doing pretty well, certainly in comparison with the rest of Europe. Do we need immigrants?
Well, I tell you what, you make the point about the rest of Europe. The Eurozone crisis is back. Greece is facing a third bailout. Italy is in deep trouble. And the point is, we can control the numbers that come from the rest of the world. We cannot control the numbers that come from the EU. Does this country need a huge supply of unskilled labour from southern and eastern Europe?
But do we need immigrants?
No. Not on that scale. What we need...
And you don't believe that they've contributed to some of the economic growth in this country, even if they've damaged countries at home?
Well, if your population goes up, your GDP goes up. This isn't about GDP figures. This is about the fact people can't get houses. It's about the fact they can't get their kids into the local school. It's about the fact their wages have gone down. It's about the fact their communities have changed, or, in some cases, beyond all recognition. There are some things in life that matter more than GDP figures, and quality of life does matter.
That is in a minority of areas, though, isn't it?
Well, you say that, and yet I've been travelling around the country for the last couple of weeks, and you'd be amazed. A lot of people have seen their lives fundamentally changed.
Yeah.
And in other areas...
So the answer...
And in other areas...
But what I'm trying to get to is what the answer is. Is the answer just stop any more coming in? Is it kick out some of those who are here? What's the answer?
Well, no one's ever suggested that.
So it's not kick out anybody who's here?
No one's ever suggested that. But here's the point. The British passport is now available to 508 million people, any of whom can come. We have no control over numbers. What we, in the Brexit camp, we want an Australian-style point system, so we choose the quantity and the quality of who comes to Britain, and let's return to a post-war normality of net 30,000
But everyone
a year.
who's here, that net 600,000, as far as you're concerned, if Britain comes out, you would say you can still stay here.
Well, if people have come legally,
yes,
you should never retrospectively change that. Of course not. We've made mistakes, but we have to honour our commitments.
And what about the million British people living abroad?
Well, it's not a million people because 300.
So the Prime Minister said.
Well, yes. I don't believe a word the Prime Minister says. The million living abroad isn't a million. A lot of those live in Ireland, and there are several 100,000 living in Spain, living in France, contributing to the local economies. The last thing the Costa del Sol would need is for the Brits to leave.
Finally, as I said, you're not part of the official campaign or the officially recognised campaign, but you have been the one who've been saying that immigration is the key to this argument rather than the other issues. And of course, Michael Gove, who's coming here tomorrow, has very much taken up that theme as well. Do you feel vindicated?
I'll tell you what I do feel. Now that Michael Gove and Boris Johnson, the two men most likely to be our next Prime Minister, and possibly this year, the fact they're saying the same thing that I've been saying that helped me and UKIP win the European elections of 2014, says to me, we're now reaching a mass audience, says to me, the game has changed, we will now win this referendum.
Well, we'll hold you to it. I'll doubtless be speaking to you on the night of June the 23rd. Nigel Farage, thank you very much.